If you have any true scary or strange stories, such as Glitch in the Matrix stories that you want to share with the channel, go to astheravendreams.com and click the button to send it my way. And of course, thank you. My whole life, I've had strange happenings around me. Although I'm not sure any of them would be classed as a glitch, so maybe I'll save those for another day. My current story isn't a major time travel glitch or anything, but it was extremely weird and my husband experienced it with me, which means I'm not crazy, right? So here we are, currently in the process of remodeling and decorating our house. And due to being mucked around and ripped off by so many plasterers, plumbers, and electricians, we had decided to do the last bit of work ourselves. Anyway, on with the point of the story. One day a couple of weeks ago, my husband was out working and I was feeling particularly energetic and motivated. So, I decided to crack on and finish a few things in the downstairs shower room. The things I was working on that morning were applying silicone around the edge of the shower and finishing off a bit of painting after the plumber clumsily took a few chunks out of our wall. While I'm rather good at it, if I do say so, I'm not very good at being tidy when DIYing. So, I have a small collection of old clothes that I can just wipe my hands on when painting and whatnot. However, on this day, the call to DIY had taken me entirely by surprise, and I didn't give a thought to the fact that I was wearing a brand new top that I absolutely loved. I know, what an idiot. However, what makes me an even bigger idiot is that I realized this mistake about 5 minutes into working, and I couldn't be bothered to go upstairs and change into my work clothes. I justified this decision by telling myself that I'd be super careful and it would be fine. Anyway, about 5 minutes into applying the silicone, my husband returned from work and, as he usually does, he popped his head into the room to see how I was getting on. I told him everything was going well and he complimented my work. We got chatting and then my husband came right into the room and stood by my side to watch what I was doing while we talked and I finished up. I was distracted, the inevitable happened, and I got paint on my top. Facepalm. I figured the damage was done, said screw it, and just began using my top to wipe my hands on as I usually would. My husband and I continued chatting for about 10 minutes while I finished up the little bit of silicone and painting I had left. Then, I decided it was time for a well-deserved cuppa. My husband, very kindly, offered to make it for me. So, I went through the living room to sit down. I didn't quite get that far before I noticed something odd, though. My top was clean. Not even the smallest bit of paint or silicone was on it. I thought I was going mad. When my husband came in with my tea, I pointed it out, not sure whether I wanted to be in this weird situation or confirmed as mad, but he looked super confused too. We both knew that my top was destroyed, hand-sized smears of paint all over it. So, how in the 15 seconds it takes me to walk the distance between my shower and sofa was it now back to looking perfect and new? What the actual hell? Thank you for reading the story. I know it isn't particularly scary, but it certainly creeped us both out. I am, however, happy to have my top back, though. Hi, Raven. This just happened the other day. So, as you know, I recently moved and was lamenting that nothing really strange happened. Well, that was corrected. I had several notebooks of my writing, all different colors, red, blue, purple, and green. The most important of these was the green one. and I made sure to pack it with the rest. When I left, I made sure that it was in the bag. When we had gotten to our motel in Indiana, I couldn't find it in my writing bag. I figured it had gotten mixed up with some other stuff, so I wasn't too worried. Then, we get to the place that we were renting from my friend and still couldn't find it. I had even talked about it with my wife and kid. Neither had seen it. I even had them try their hand at looking for it in case my eyes were blind to the bright green notebook. They could not find it either. For the next few months, every once in a while I would go looking for it and come up empty. This particular notebook had a collection of short story starts that I often used to inspire me. You might say it was a big loss for me. I've mostly been working off of memory recently. Well, this week, in April of 2025, I found it. On a bookshelf that I bought after we moved into our new place. Just sitting on the shelf, not buried, just out in the open. I could imagine if it had been buried in a pile I could overlook it, but the only things on top of it were clear plastic cone and area burst templates used in tabletop gaming. These things are designed to be seen through to the map so you can see who is in the blast area. So, how did I miss this notebook sitting under them? For what would now be about 2 months. I even had my kid take a look when I found it. It was just sitting on a shelf that was bought in a house 2/3 of the US away from where the notebook had previously last been seen. To me, that is just wild. I'm normally very meticulous about my writing books. I have notebooks and other examples of my writing from when I was 18. I'm now 45. So, it was a big bummer to me to have lost this notebook, and now I'm very happy that I found it. Thanks for reading, and I hope the listeners enjoy. I've been stuck glitching between 2 realities for a few years now, and I don't know why or what causes it. They're basically the same, with major events and such being the same in both, just the details keep changing. For the record, I'm of sound mind, no history of mental illness or drug use that could cause this, and I have a pretty good memory in general. There are details that I keep track of, and I tell my 2 best friends because they are 2 of the details. In one reality, they both have blue eyes. One friend had blue-gray and the other has blue-green. In the other reality, they both have different shades of brown eyes. Solid brown and brown gold. My girlfriend's eyes also change between blue-gray and solid green, and not in the way that some people's eyes can change depending on what they're wearing or whatever. I'm talking a complete shift from light blue to green without any gray in them. Very distinct difference. Another thing that changes is the manager at my local Taco Bell. A weird thing to notice, but I'm there regularly for lunch because I work in the building across the street. The manager's name is Sam, and Sam has been working there for a long time, and we've become very friendly because she's usually working the counter when I come in. She wears a lot of different and weird earrings, and I always make a point to compliment them whenever I go in. I've realized that sometimes she just has the regular earrings and sometimes she wears a double piercing. But when it's just the regular, she doesn't even have a double piercing. No hole, no scar, nothing. Just the single piercing in both ears. Since she has her hair in a very short pixie cut, her ears are always visible. I've brought it up to her a couple times, but she always looks confused either way, saying she's always had a double piercing, or she has never had a double piercing. A very popular animated Christmas movie came out a few years ago, and I remember being really excited because the main character was voiced by one of my favorite actors. But sometimes he isn't. Sometimes he's voiced by another popular actor with a completely different accent. My brother is also a big fan of the first actor, so I've mentioned it to him a few different times on different occasions, always beginning with the question, who voices the character in this movie? And then I Google it, and the answer changes every few weeks, which is about how often I think about it and the glitch overall. Finally, and honestly least but still worthy of note, there's a painting in my mom's house that used to belong to my grandma. It's an ornate frame, and the painting is of pink roses spilling out of a vase. It used to hang in Grandma's dining room, and now hangs in our living room. Sometimes the pink roses are completely replaced with blue hydrangeas, still spilling out of the same vase. Not a rose to be seen. But the rest of the painting and frame are the same. I don't remember the blue flowers ever being present at my grandma's house, and I don't recall my friends' or girlfriends' eye colors changing while we were all in high school together, which was when we met. We're nearly 30 now, and I've been noticing these things over the course of the last 7 years or so. But I'm writing this all down now because I've recently discovered another thing that keeps changing. Once again, involving my girlfriend, who lives with me. I drive a black Honda, and she drives a Subaru Outback. Sometimes her car is silver, sometimes it's green. Dark green. But I've realized that when her eyes are green, her car is silver. When her eyes are blue, the car is green. But her license plates are always the same, as is the beaded chain hanging from the mirror and the small dent on the front fender from when I accidentally hit her car while taking out the trash can. It's a very chaotic and kind of random list of things, and I know it's not scary, but it does freak me out whenever I think about it. This happened to me a couple of years ago, and I still can't find any explanation of what actually happened. I'm not sure if you can call this a glitch, but I don't know how to describe it otherwise. It was the winter of 2021, and I had just arrived in the US. Mind you, this was my first and only time visiting, and I didn't know anyone there. This specific morning, I took the train, and as soon as I entered the train, a woman started staring at me. I'm a very intuitive person, so I know when something is off or not. This didn't make me feel uncomfortable, and I could feel her good intentions. It didn't take her long to come up to me and ask me my name. The train was very loud, and I was wearing earphones, so it took me a while to realize what she had asked. Before I could answer, she said, "Your name is Elisabeth, right? You're Elisabeth?" Me, very confused in this moment, thinking, how does this woman know my name? Also, I was wearing a big winter coat and my mask because those were still mandatory, so I was, in my opinion, very unrecognizable. Besides, I didn't know anyone and nobody could have known me. But yet somehow she did know my name. Anyway, it all happened so fast. I said, yes, that was my name. But before I could ask her questions about it, she was guided off the train by the people that she was with. You could see that she didn't want to go, but she did. As she was leaving, she said, "You helped me. Thank you for helping me," making me only more confused. I'm completely positive that I had never seen that woman before in my life. I was only 21 at the time, so it's not like I could have helped her a long time ago and have forgotten. I immediately regretted not getting off the train with her to be able to talk to her. But it happened so fast. I didn't have the time to process what happened and act accordingly. I still have so many questions. Who was this woman? Did I actually help her? Will I still help her? How did she know and recognize me? I've gone all over possible explanations, but none of them explain what happened. Has anyone else had similar encounters, or does anyone have any clue about what this was, or what it means? Hey, Raven. I told you I would send a story about this, and due to my life, I'm finally getting around to typing it out. So, I've had dreams on occasion that have played out in real life later. I've already sent the one about Halloween. This one is just about a summer afternoon, and I hope you all enjoy. I lived in northern Nevada at this time, out in a giant trailer park/neighborhood. This wasn't one of those rent-the-lot type. There were 1 acre and 1/2 acre lots. If you lived on the edges, you had even more room because it opened out onto open desert. My dream was very clear and detailed. Like, my vision in the dream was better than my vision in real life. It felt more real than real life. That is the way of these types of dreams. In this dream, I was over at my friend's house, and we were practicing archery. We were both trying to get an archery badge in Boy Scouts. The air was clear and very little wind. We had placed the hay bales and targets at about 50 yards. My friend Mike was really good at archery. I was less so. Much less so. We were taking turns aiming and firing at the target. That day, I was doing exceptionally well. I was able to hit the target at that distance. Not bullseyes, but some pretty good ring shots. My arrows were bright yellow practice arrows, dome tips. These are useless for hunting. They're only good for practice. My friend was using a mixed quiver. He only had a few practice arrows and the rest were hunting tips. He took his turn and was getting some great inner ring shots, and even 2 bullseyes in his 25 shots. Yet the wind had gusted out of nowhere and knocked one of his arrows off into the brush. After cleaning the bales and targets, we went to go looking for the last of his arrows. Mike was one of those impatient people who ran or hurried everywhere. He took off running through the brush. Now, if you don't know what it looks like, northern Nevada brush is not very dense. There are some small sagebrush plants and thin, tall grasses. The grasses are dirty yellow, and sagebrush is a gray-barked plant with small, dull green shoots for leaves. The grasses, while dry, can snag your leg and trip you. At the top is a sticky resin that will grab cloth. Mike, as I said, was impatient. So he took off running, and one of those grasses reached out and grabbed his leg, dropping him to the ground. I laughed at him and said, "That's what you get for running everywhere." He didn't respond. In fact, I noticed he hadn't moved since falling. No cry of pain, no shifting position, he just lay there still. I had a bolt of fear run through me, so I more cautiously, but quicker than I had been, went to him. As I came upon him, I saw a glint of metal in his back and red pulling around it. He had fallen on top of the broadhead hunting arrow. It was poking out right next to his spine. That is where I woke up from this dream. I was panting and my heart was racing. It was the time in the morning when I wake up anyways, so I just stayed up. About a week later, Mike and I are practicing archery at his place because it faces the open desert. I get this massive feeling of deja vu. That feeling of my eyes being better was because I had just gotten my new glasses. I had a quiver full of practice arrows. Everything was so familiar. I couldn't quite place it though, so I just kept doing what we were doing. Right up until we were clearing the bales, and I had a flash of Mike face down. He had just taken off. Now, I had to really push myself to catch him. I was a chubby kid of about 200 pounds at 12 and only 5'3". I was fueled by adrenaline and took off after Mike. I couldn't say anything or even yell because all of my breath was used in running. Also, if I just yelled after him, he wouldn't have stopped, knowing him. I reached him just as he was going down and jerked him back upright. There in the ground was his broadhead arrow, aimed for his heart had he completed the fall. After that, we only used practice day-glow arrows. He got his archery badge and I moved before I could complete the requirements. Ever since then, if I remember a dream, I make sure that I tell someone about it, or at least write it down. Thank you, Raven, for taking the time to read this. Hi, Raven. I love listening to your podcast and hearing others' experiences. They've really helped me not feel so alone and crazy with my own. I have all kinds of real stories, both my own and my mother's, but I'll start with this one. I'm not quite sure what to classify it as, honestly. I don't know if it was a premonition, timeline jump, glitch, or paranormal. When I was about 6 years old, my mom, my brother, and I lived in a townhouse. One night, I woke up from a terrible nightmare where I saw the place that we lived engulfed in flames. It was so vivid and it felt extremely real. I can't recall all the details, but that's the main thing that I remember. When I woke up during the middle of the night, I was screaming and crying for my mom. She woke up and came to console me, reassuring me that it was just a dream. Because I was so scared, it took me a while to get back to sleep, so my mom stayed up with me until I did, trying to keep me calm. The next morning, my mom overslept because she had been up most of the night trying to calm me down. When she woke up and realized she had overslept, she quickly rushed to get my brother and I up for school. We were already running late, so my mom didn't have time to cook us a whole breakfast, as she usually did, and instead gave us something quick like granola bars. As we were headed out the door, my mom noticed that something smelled a little weird. She recognized what she smelled as gas and immediately called emergency services. When they arrived, they confirmed that it was a big gas leak and mentioned that had any single electrical object been turned on, stove, microwave, toaster, or possibly even a light switch, the entire place would have literally exploded. So, because I had that dream which made my mom stay up with me, it in turn stopped it from happening, I guess. I don't know how else I could explain what happened. Thank you for taking the time to read my story, and have a wonderful day. Hey Raven, I love your channel and have been listening to it for years. It's my favorite thing to play while I'm gaming on my PC, or on my 1.5 hour drive to and from work every day. Oof. Thanks for always making such great and consistent content, and I love all of the down-to-earth wholesome messages at the end of your videos. Keep doing you. I will. Story 1, Disappearing Name Tag. I just got a new job and the receptionist had to order a name tag for me. These take several weeks to come in because they have to be approved by the company after submitting a request. We finally got my name tag in, but the receptionist handed me 2. She told me that she always orders 2 for people because everyone loses the magnetic backing and it's just easier to have a backup name tag. I thought I had my name tag in my old job for like 2 years without losing it even once, so this won't be an issue. The same day that I got my name tags, I was wearing one in my coworker's car as we got ready to carpool home. I decided to take it off. I thought I had just attached it to my jacket, but Apparently, the magnetic backing was all the way inside of my shirt, so I accidentally ended up dropping both halves of the name tag down into my shirt and jacket. I reached into my lap and into the inner pockets of my jacket, which are logically the most likely places they could have fallen. Nope, no sign of either of the pieces. I sat up and checked the seat. Nope. Checked under the seat, in the door panel pocket, and even in my pants pocket where it could not have possibly been. No name tag. I've asked my friend and he's looked, and we still have not found it. So I'm really glad our receptionist got me 2 name tags. Story 2, extra straw. The other day I was at the Starbucks drive-thru by myself. I ordered my normal iced coffee, but I got the largest size, so they had to give me an extra tall straw for it. They handed me the straw and then handed me the coffee. When they handed me the straw, I set it down on the passenger seat before accepting the coffee, so my hand would be free. My passenger seat was completely empty at the time, and it's a solid black leather, so the extra long white straw was obviously extremely visible. I took the coffee and then I pulled up past the drive-thru window, so as to not hold up the line, to the little stop sign at the end, because I wanted to put the straw in my coffee before hitting the road again. I inserted it into my coffee, watered up the paper wrapper, and threw it away in my mini cup holder trash can. I was driving for about 5 to 10 more minutes, sipping my coffee through the straw, and for whatever reason, I looked down at the passenger seat. There, I saw an extra long Starbucks straw, just sitting on the seat as if it had always been there. I picked it up, thinking it was maybe just the wrapper that I had misremembered throwing away, but it was a brand new straw. I checked my coffee and the straw was still in it, so I hadn't imagined putting the straw in my coffee. I have absolutely no explanation for how it got there. It's the little unexplainable things that you can't deny that really get to you sometimes. My story happened years ago. My girlfriend back then and I was waiting for my check to come in the mail, which it always did. Well, after it didn't arrive after 3 days, I called HR and was told that it looked as if my check was cashed 2 days ago. So I went to my bank and explained the situation to the teller. I was then directed to the manager, and the manager showed me a copy of my check with what looked like my signature on the back of the check. I explained that I never received my check, nor did I come to the bank to cash it. The manager then checked the time that it was cashed and deposited at the ATM, and to my surprise, I saw myself, or someone who looked like me, at the ATM. I would have sworn that it wasn't me, but the scariest part of this is that the person, or should I say I, was wearing the same hat and outfit that I was wearing that day. I can't explain how that was possible, when I had no evidence of me ever spending or buying anything, but my check was cashed by me. I don't know how, but I totally missed a day. So that, my friends, is a collection of some strange, bizarre, reality-breaking glitch in the Matrix stories that are weird and bizarre, as I previously mentioned. I need to write down the words that I should not use consistently like this, because I like to just, for some reason, use the same words over and over and freaking over, and I don't know why. I'm really bad at that. I try to say something different for every video, but for some reason, glitch in the Matrix stories are just like weird, bizarre, strange, and odd, and sometimes awkward if I think of that word. Stories that will blow your mind or make you go, wow, or whatever. I don't know. I have so many problems with these outros sometimes. It's not even funny. I try to keep them interesting and entertaining, but I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it's rough. It's rough. Honestly, these outros are the hardest part of my video making. It's kind of why I stopped doing them on some of my videos, but that's actually not the full reason. And honestly, I probably will be switching back to doing the outros more. A little more content in them. I tested it, it worked, but I don't know how I feel about it, you know what I mean? I don't know if I feel good about it anymore, so... kind of just want to get back to being silly and being myself in my outros. Like this. I've been keeping them in the glitch videos, though. But the other videos, I'm trying to minimize the amount of time that I spend doing the outros. I don't know, what do you all think? Well, you know what? I ask that, and then you all give me the same opinion that, like, oh, you love the outros with all the banter, and you wish I did more banter. And then I do those, and the average view duration of my videos tanks. Because not everyone, but a majority clicks away on the outros. It's so silly. Honestly, it's like, whenever I ask you guys questions, the majority will choose something, and then the opposite will end up being true analytically. It's craziness. Whatever. Anyways, hopefully you all enjoyed these Glitch in the Matrix stories. I did, of course, so, yeah. If you did enjoy them, please consider hitting that like button, or hitting the subscribe button if you haven't done that yet already. You can join Patreon or memberships, get early access to all of my content, including this, typically a day early, not always a day early, but typically a day early at least. Sometimes it's day of, but it's several hours. This one will probably go up the day of, just a little bit after early morning. I don't know. We'll see. It will be early, though. That's my point. If you join, you will get early access to the content. Also, that helps support the channel, and helps support me, and helps me pay my bills, and the upcoming down payment on a house that I have to make. Not that I don't already have that, because we wouldn't have gone into this house thing if we didn't have the money to make the down payment. That would have been silly and stupid of us. We didn't do that. So, my point is, we're gonna have a mortgage. That's crazy. Anyways, so I guess I should mention, that is definitely a thing that's happening now. We are definitely moving, so May, June, probably going to be an interesting time, because I'm going to be balancing work with moving. It's freaking 400 some odd miles away. Anyways, you can also listen to the podcast on other platforms, such as Spotify, Pandora, Audible, all those platforms. And, yeah. You can also do what we call the Word of the Week. Now, every week I give you guys a Word of the Week on the Glitch video. You all take said word, put it in a comment in the comment section. I then try to reply to those comments, but I definitely screenshot them, and I put them in the end of the video the next week that's a Glitch video. Such as right now, and several moments prior to now, while I was giving that stupid explanation that I just gave. Stupid's wrong. Silly explanation. Whatever. That I just gave on the screen have been all the people who used last week's Word of the Week in a comment. Last week's Word of the Week was adroit, which is a hard word to use, not gonna lie, but these lovely people went above and beyond and did so thank you to each and every single one of them. They are amazing. Yeah. Moving on, this week, the Word of the Week is a funner one, though Merriam-Webster kind of let me down, so here we go. This week, the Word of the Week is iridescent. iridescent. It means having or exhibiting iridescence. That is where Merriam-Webster let me down. That's literally the dictionary definition of iridescent. So in order to give you the definition of iridescent, I now have to define iridescence, which is a lustrous rainbow-like play of color caused by differential reaction of light waves, or a lustrous or attractive quality or effect, such as the shiny paint on the canvas gave an iridescent glow because it was mixed with oil. Woo! I got nothing. You know what it means, probably. If you don't use it. If you do, great. Anyways, friends, I hope you all have a gorgeous week. I hope I see you again here very soon, like Wednesday. But until then, I hope you have a great day, great week. Hope I see you. I already said that. Stop repeating yourself, Raven. I hope you remember you are loved, you are valid, you are important, you are the best you that you can be. Do not forget it. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And of course, until next time, my friends, much love and sleep